This video is very similar to one I did for radio buttons, except with checkboxes. And they are a little different, as radio buttons you only have one checked, and checkboxes you can have multiple ones. So the first thing you need are two documents. I called them checkbox.html and check.js. And what I have here are just the basics. It's a little blurry right now, but I'll scroll in for you in a second. So the first thing I'm doing here is linking my check.js file. Name it whatever you want, as long as it's named accordingly. And inside the body, what I did is I added 5 different checkboxes. Once again, it's a little blurry, but you'll see they're just colors. And put as many checkboxes as you want. There's a text a line just for the main body there, just so the checkboxes are in the middle of the page. You don't need to do that. I assigned each one an ID that should read CHK, not CHEK. I put them in the same group, and that's what's important. Just like the radio buttons, make sure they're in the same group. And I'm linking them to a function called check, which we haven't written yet, which will go on check.js. And I went ahead and defaulted the red, or the first checkbox, as true. So let's go ahead and add our function in check.js. Let's right click. Actually, let's take a look first. And these are just the checkboxes. Once again, red is defaulted. And I want to go through, and every time one is clicked, I want to know which ones in the group are checked. Okay, so right click, edit with whatever, in my case Notepad++. And let's go ahead and that's a little more clear right there. You can see that a little better. Once again, we need to call the function check, and as I said before, name it whatever you want as long as the function is named accordingly. So function check, and we're not going to pass anything in. You could pass in the ID, might make it a little easier. So let's say var which box equals document.get elements. Make sure you have that plural by name, and it's the name that is that you assigned for the group. In this case, they were called group 1, I believe. So let's go close that off, and that creates a reference to anything I have in group 1. And we're also going to need an array to keep track of which ones are checked. As I mentioned before, with a radio button, you know there's only going to be one check, but sorry, that's an object. We need an array. But with checkboxes, you could have one or a whole bunch checked. So say for I equals 0 to which box.length and I++. And it's pretty straightforward. We're going to say if which box of I dot checked, it's a boolean, so you could just put dot checked. You probably put dot checked equals true too. So if which box of I dot check, we're going to say check array dot push I. So we're just going to push the index into the array. Okay, you could push other things like the ID, which I'll do in just a second. And now let's set an alert of check array. So check array is going to fire, and you're going to see anytime you click one of the checkboxes, and we'll see what index starting at 0 of the checkboxes are checked. So right there, for whatever reason, there's 4 of them. So if let me zoom in here. Okay, so if I check orange, all of them are checked, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have reference to all of them. If I uncheck purple, it should be 0, 1, 2, 4. If I uncheck, let's say uncheck blue, it should be 0, 2, and didn't show there 4. And it should be 0 and 4 there. Okay, so that's just how you would keep track of which ones are checked, by pushing them into the index into an array. and in this case it's blank because none of them are checked. We'll have to fix that in a second. So let's change this and let's reference the ID instead, because you might not want to push the index into the array. You might want to push the ID or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of things you could put into the array. So let's say document.getElements by name, and it's group 1. Actually, this is stupid. We already have a reference to group 1, which is called which box. So let's push which box of I. Okay, so we're going to push which box of I ID instead of the index. So now when I click on that refresh your screen, and there's the ID called check red, and so it should be check red, check blue. So now it's pushing in the ID of whatever is checked. So we should have check blue, check orange, etc. Okay. And since this is a group of checkboxes, you might want to put in a little check or an if statement in case none of them are checked. In other words, you want to default to, let's say, the first checkbox being checked. Okay. So we'll add if checkarray.length is equal to 0. In other words, no checkbox has been checked. What we could say is which box of, in this case I'm just going to use 0.checked equals true. So all this is going to do is make sure that at least one of the checkboxes is true. In this case, the 0 index checkbox is true. So if we go back and test this out, refresh our screen, and make sure to save and refresh our screen. So if we check some more and then uncheck, the red one automatically gets checked, and you can't uncheck it. Okay, so that's just, you don't need to do that, but sometimes you might want to have certain ones checked regardless. Okay, so once again, pretty straightforward code, very similar to the radio buttons, and I hope this helps you out, and thank you for watching.